Several months ago, I had the opportunity, the honor really, to sit with some indigenous elders in California. We asked them to bless a gathering that we were in. We asked their permission to do the work we were doing on what I believe is their land. And it's difficult for me to be at a civil rights event and not remind us that we sit, we stand, we work on stolen land. You heard reference to that in the presentation a few minutes ago. But the thing about the stolen land is that it's not just like someone came to America and squatted in someone else's backyard. It's that there was a genocide. And as I was processing what these elders said to us, someone sent me an advertisement that was used to promote the genocide at that time. It reads, 50 pounds per head for every Indian man, 25 pounds for any Indian woman or child, male or female, taken under the age of 14 years, taken or brought in prisoner or proof of death, per Indian scalp of hair produced and delivered. When I walk outside of my home, I look over my shoulder. I've taken self-defense classes, and I've contemplated the question of whether I need to carry a taser, a knife, or get a license for a concealed carry. However, I do not fear someone scalping me and selling that for profit. I share this with you because much of the conversation in recent months in the community, but also among our friends, has been that our system of government is broken, that this racism is new, that we are seeing an increase. And what I'm really clear about is that nothing is broken. This, what is happening today, what is happening around us, is exactly how the system was built. After we massacred the indigenous people, we engaged in the worst slave trade in human history. We brought over Black people from Africa as though they were cattle, many of them dying on their way to America. They were bought and sold on the auction block. For any of you that have seen Get Out, you might recognize the auction scene. That is a fraction of what happened in America. And yes, we say we ended slavery, but what we really did is we moved it from the fields to the prison industrial complex. Today, America imprisons more people than any other country in the world, and a disproportionate number of them are Black people. And then we use their labor, and we put them in solitary confinement, and we torture them, and we call it legal. We went from slavery to the prison industrial complex, and along the way, we excluded Chinese Americans, we targeted people who were believed to be communist, and we sent Japanese Americans to concentration camps right here in America. Most high school students today don't even know that part of our history, and it was only 75 years ago. This is the foundation that America was built on. And I say that knowing full well that my parents came to this country seeking the American dream, in hopes of an opportunity to practice their faith and earn more money than they could if they had stayed in Pakistan. And they got that. And our immigrant story is that we stayed silent during the war on drugs. When Black communities and Latino communities were drug dealers until proven innocent. Before there was the Muslim ban or the 4 S's on your boarding pass, if you were coming to America from Latin America, you were subject not just to the TSA searches that we all loathe, but sometimes even to cavity searches. Because if your passport came from a certain country, then you must be a drug dealer. If your pants were baggy, then you must be hiding something. Oh, the police came to your home? You must have done something wrong, because the police do everything right. What the Muslim community is experiencing today is not unique to the Muslim community. Racial profiling is as American as apple pie. Guilty until proven innocent is how we have treated many communities before us. And when we say that this is our rite of passage as immigrant Muslims, let's be clear, it hasn't ended for other communities. Japanese Americans got reparations, $20,000 for 4 years of indefinite detentions in horse stalls. Does that sound like reparations to you? The Black community never got reparations and continues to be targeted by police officers across this country without any consequence. I would spend more time in jail for beating a dog than a Philadelphia or Oakland or New York police officer would spend for killing an unarmed Black man, woman, or child. The Customs and Border Protections agents that enforce the Muslim ban don't just come for Muslims, they shoot Mexicans coming across the US-Mexico border. The reality at the US-Mexico border today is that if you are a teenager and they decide to do a cavity search on you, which they do often, they don't even notify your parents. How does that sit with Muslim modesty standards? I worry that a TSA agent may be rough when they're feeling up my hijab. I never have to worry about someone asking me to pull down my pants and bend over so that they can check to make sure I am not hiding anything. It is the same agency that does this to both of our communities. And so we sit at this historic time in American history where people are letting me say all of these things on stage, where the name white supremacy comes up in conversation on a regular basis. And we can say that though America elected this president, whose name I won't say on your beautiful stage or at this event tonight, the majority of people did not, and they stand opposed to him. And it's an old technicality that put him in office. So as much as all of these dark, horrifying things are a part of our country's history, the question that I ask is, what is our country's future? This week I had the honor of joining Muslim and Jewish leaders who went to Speaker Paul Ryan's office and said, we own this building. We demand that you call the DREAM Act to a vote on the House floor. And we are going to do everything and risk everything to change the direction that our country is going in. Our sister Linda called me a week prior. She said, can you be in DC on Monday? I thought, well, I have to be in Philadelphia on Friday and LA on Thursday, but I will make this work. I asked her, am I getting arrested? Because I have a massage appointment the following week that I really want to make. And she didn't respond, and so I thought that means I might get arrested. I showed up on Monday in DC, and we were joined by Muslim leaders, Sheikh Omar Suleiman, Nihad Awad from our national office, and others. and Jewish leaders, Stosh Kotler and others from Bend the Arc. But most courageously, we were joined by undocumented youth from United We Dream. Give them a round of applause because you know what they're going through. I didn't tell my mom I had plans to get arrested. And if you plan to get arrested one day, I advise that you tell her after. And I said to Linda, as we were making plans and she was telling us what would happen, are the undocumented youth going to get arrested too? Don't they risk deportation? She said, they're putting everything on the line. And if they are, what is our excuse? So 50 youth, undocumented and documented, chained themselves together in the streets outside of Congress. And they said, no business as usual. These are our streets. The majority of Americans want a Clean Dream Act. And so we are going to put our bodies on the line to move that forward. 30 minutes later, the imams and the Muslim activists and the Jewish leaders went to Speaker Paul Ryan's office. He didn't even let us in. Imagine, he works for us. We pay his salary. We elect him. And he wouldn't even let us in. So we sat down outside of his office. Muslim, Jew, arms interlinked with a halal barrier between the men and the women. And we sang, I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. Until the police came. They gave us our first warning, our second warning, our third warning. And then they arrested us, all of us. And I thought in those moments, people asked, were you scared? The reality is I was reflective of how privileged I am to work at an organization that supports this as a necessary move to fight for the soul of our country, to be surrounded by communities who check in on me, to know that I could afford bail, and to know without a doubt that if one of those police officers was abusive, there would be hell to pay for him. But that's not true for all Americans. That's not true for those undocumented youth who were arrested that night. They were willing to put it all on the line for their adopted country, for the only place that they know to be home. They risked their bodies, their liberty, and their family. And so though people have applauded the Muslim and Jewish leaders, the real heroes of that day were the undocumented youth. They are our teachers. Where we are at in America is an inflection point. What we let this president get away with, the next president will take for granted. Barack Obama deported more people than any president before him. This president will deport more. Barack Obama punished whistleblowers. This president will punish more. Barack Obama moved our wars from just boots on the ground to drones in the sky. This president does it without consequence or accountability. What we do today, what we do tomorrow, what we fight for will make a difference not just for all of you that are in this room, but for your children and grandchildren. As I sat with those Native leaders many months ago, what struck me was their resilience. They faced a genocide and they keep fighting. Years ago, several years ago now, when corporations said we want to drill on what is left of Native land, they said you will not, and we will fight you tooth and nail. Today, when Black people are targeted by police, which is a daily occurrence in our country, Black leaders mobilize under the banner of Black Lives Matter to teach us that our country's history is bloody but can also change directions. One of the first communities to stand with the Muslim community after 9/11 was the Japanese American community. They worked to keep their story alive, they fought for reparations, and I know that if there are ever Muslim concentration camps, the Japanese Americans will be the first to stand with us. The LGBT community, after the Pulse shooting, said we will not let the right wing use this tragedy to put forward Islamophobia. We didn't ask for their support. They knew it was the right thing to do. Today, I ask you to support CAIR because we're not just fighting for American Muslim civil liberties. Every protection that we win will benefit undocumented people who include Muslims, Black Americans who also include Muslims, and all of our fellow Americans, because we believe that we can win. Those undocumented youth were willing to put their bodies on the line to fight for a better America. Tonight, CAIR-Philadelphia, the only CAIR chapter in the country to not torture you with an auction-style fundraiser, asks for your financial support. Because when a mosque says we were vandalized, you don't want CAIR's staff to wonder, but did we make payroll last month? You want them to mobilize quickly to support the community. When a child is bullied, and over 50% of Muslim children in public schools across the country are bullied, says, I am feeling suicidal because that teacher said, if you are a Muslim, get out of my classroom. You don't want the CAIR staff to wonder, do we have time to go to this school or do we need to fundraise to pay rent next month? And when the FBI is at one of your front doors, you don't want to ask yourself, can I afford $250 an hour for an attorney? You want to know that there is an institution working to protect you, working with interfaith partners who understand that we don't want to just talk about how our religious books are similar. We want to fight for justice like Muslims and Jews did at the Capitol on Monday. You want to make sure that your elected officials know that the Muslim community votes and will show up at Harrisburg to hold them accountable through days like Muslim Day at the Capitol and voter mobilization efforts. And you better believe that when the media calls and says, what do Muslims think? That it's not Pamela Geller or Steve Emerson or Daniel Pipes or some random person off the street answering those questions. It is the qualified and trained staff at CAIR who work every day with newspaper reporters, TV journalists, and radio anchors to tell the story of our community. I found hope, courage, strength, and leadership among the 16-year-olds who said documents will not be the determinant of our dignity, that we deserve human rights for all people, and we are willing to chain ourselves together and risk police abuse and deportation to fight for a better America. My ask of you is not to get arrested on your way out tonight or tomorrow without consulting with an attorney, but instead to put your privilege to work. If you are here, my brother, who is an auction-style fundraiser, would say, God wants good for you already. There is a lot that had to come together for you to find yourself in that chair tonight. All you have to do is write the check, make the credit card donation, empty out the cash in your purse, but help CAIR continue to do the work that it does and to grow in response to the increasing white nationalist threat that this president and his administration poses. I believe that we will win if all of us do our part, work hard, and put it all together so that the next time one of our brothers or sisters is targeted, we know that they are not alone, that there is an institution behind them. The famous freedom fighter Assata Shakur's chant is often repeated in activist circles. And so as you think about how much you can give tonight to help CAIR-Philadelphia get to their goal of $250,000, I leave you with her words. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. And now I'll ask you to chant it with me, particularly those of you who are familiar with it. One time out loud, not like the Assalamu alaikum I did at the beginning, but I want to hear the power in this room. I want you to know that parts of America's house are on fire and the white nationalists are coming for us, and they're organizing and they're fundraising. But I believe that we will win. And I believe that because of the undocumented youth who put themselves on the line to get arrested more bravely than anything I did, but also because of the hundreds of you who are gathered here tonight. So say it with me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. I said I wouldn't make you do it again, but ya Allah, the white nationalists are setting America on fire. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you so much for the contributions that you will make tonight and throughout the year to support CAIR-Philadelphia's work to ensure that the rights of American Muslims in this region and the rights of all Americans are protected. Give yourselves a round of applause in advance for your generosity.